Well, the plot is thickening, characters coming together, and the space program continues to expand as more and more people are becoming infected. Hey guys, Cameron for BrainDead, Season 1, Episode 3, Goring Oxes, or How Can You Survive the War on Government Through 5 Easy Steps, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. First of all, I have no idea what the title means. What Goring Oxes, I don't know what that is. Either way, I've really been enjoying this show. I think it's been a lot of fun. For me, this was the best episode so far. I really enjoyed this episode. There was a lot of really great stuff going on in this one. There were characters coming together. There were some really funny moments. And I think this episode was probably the first one to focus a lot more on the political stuff and a lot less on the spacebar problem, which honestly was fine. I liked this episode focused more on characters than Spacebug. It did focus very much on the Spacebug, but it also focused on political stuff, so let's just get into this episode. First of all, I love the recap. Like I said, I've been loving the recap song, but this episode specifically, when it ended, when the guy said, and now that's all the time I have because this episode's too long, I mean, that just shows how ridiculous this show really is and how not seriously you're supposed to take it, and I really love that. So we see Ella goes to her doorstep, finds flowers there. She goes inside, discovers the flowers are from Luke. He asks her not to fight. As we know, Ella is infected with the Spacebug virus as well. She calls Luke. Scarlet says that she sent them, and especially after she said, I'm like, alright, definitely Ella's infected. Luke plays along, says that he's going on doublespeak, but suggests that they talk the next day, and Ella says she has a cold and she's gonna stay in, and she puts the flowers down. Bugs crawl out of them as she listens to Nora Moody, a former Bush speakwriter from Doublespeak, and she watches as Luke comes on and talks with Jonathan Broadbent, and who's Red's chief of staff, who's coming from a remote studio, and Broadbent says that it's not his boss's fault that there's a shutdown. He hesitates, and Claudia cuts to Luke and basically asks if Ella is challenging him for the whip position, and Luke says that he just talked with Ella, and they have great professional respect for each other, and Broadbent speaks up, blaming the Democrats for the shutdown. His head suddenly explodes, so you know that he's also going to be infected. The director cuts the feed before the 8-second delay catches up, and that's something that we haven't seen before. We've seen people's brains explode, but not their head explode. Now, why does this guy's head explode? We don't know. So that's very interesting. At home, Ella dozes off as the bugs crawl into her ear. Really good way to start things off. You know that Ella's going to be infected, and honestly, probably one of the best parts of this episode is seeing Ella post bug space bugs basically. I thought that was really well done. So Laurel's in her office working on her documentary when Scarlet announces that Anthony is there, none other than her father Anthony, and he comes in with fellow agent Aaron Blades, and Blades asks her to repeat what she told Anthony about Daudier's head exploding, and Laura repeats what Daudier said about there being something in his ear. Anthony says that there was another incident with Red's chief of staff, and Laura excuses herself and goes to Gareth's office, and Gareth is there, and the relation between Laurel and Gareth is really changing in this episode. You definitely see that. Gareth is there, said that there was a last-minute change, so Broadbent went on doublespeak instead of him, and she tells Gareth what happened. She thought that Gareth had died because of what happened, and Gareth goes to Red's office, discovers that he's on the phone talking to someone about Broadbent's death, and Red is claiming that it was a stroke, but we know that it probably wasn't. There probably was more. It was definitely not a stroke. It was definitely because of the space bugs. That's definitely what's going on. It's not just some random stroke, and we know right away that's what's going on. So Laurel then meets with the constituents, and Gustav is first on the list, we see, and he's using the fake name of Dr. Bob, obviously, to get close to her, and meets with Laurel in private. And also so he could, get there, and basically, we finally see these two meet up. We knew they were going to meet up in the last episode. They do meet up here. He vaguely suggests that they may acquire smaller, and walks out, and basically, just a very small suggestion, literally walks out, and Red then meets with his staff, announced that Gareth will be his new chief of staff. He then takes a call, says that he's on it with his staff, and once he hangs up, Red tells him that Ella's challenging Luke for the whip. He wonders which one they want to win, and Gareth figures that they want Luke because moderates might flee to him, but not to Ella, and Red has Gareth with the statements, and soon, Red is telling reporters that he hopes the Democrats will pick Luke because he can work with him, and Luke is watching and figures that Red wants Ella, so he notices some flowers on his desk. Scarlet explains that she cut a few cherry blossoms to cheer up the office, and again, he knows something weird's going on. Once he's alone with Laurel, Luke tells her to get rid of the funeral, and as she takes them out, Scarlet complains that Laurel is taking the flowers out. She then warns Laurel that she's outnumbered, and Laurel can tell that obviously something weird's going on with Scarlet. So as Laurel throws the flowers around, Gustav approaches her, says who he really is, and that he wasn't really who she thought, and he explains that she left her email on his blog, and tells her to put her cell phones in an insulated bag, because basically, we knew that he had contacted her, but she didn't really know who he was. She just knew an email, and, he says has to put herself in an insulated bag. Laurel refused to hand it over, and I like that Gustav actually seems to be a bit ahead of her. He actually seems to know a bit more knowledge about the space bugs than she does, because he looked up stuff. He knows things that could or may not be true, but I like seeing these two work together. Gustav says that bugs are eating people's brains. He refused to explain further until Laurel puts her phone in the bag, so she does, and I like that she's not, like, outright refusing. She's like, no, I know what I'm doing. She's actually saying, yes, okay, I do know, I will do that, and he refused to explain further, basically. So Gustav then talks about the screwworm, which we basically find out, I think, more what's going on here. We talk about the screwworm, which burrows through the skull, forces brain matter out of the ear. He admits that it can make people more extreme and suggests that brains are exploding because the bugs fart methane. And obviously, you know, that's meth. That's a drug, and bugs, you know, fart them. And Gustav notices too. Now, obviously, yes, this is ridiculous, but it also makes sense. That's why they're going so crazy, because when you're on meth, you're crazy. And Gustav notices two men nearby sharing a candy bar, says that it looks like a rehashed observed activity, and Laurel figures that he's just nuts. You know, she thinks that he's just crazy, takes her cell phone back, starts to walk away, because really everything he's saying, it's absurd. It really is, and it doesn't sound true at all. And Gustav gives her his card, insists that it's all true, and that she really should think about it. But right now, she's really not thinking about it until, that is, when she goes back to her office and she's considering throwing away Gustav's car. But then she hears the song You Might Think once again. We still don't know what it is about that song, but something about it. We hear that song, it's coming from Ella's office, and she secretly observes Ella talking to Scarlet, then goes to her office, and basically, she looks up information on screwworms and how they crawl into people's ears, and this is when she's realizing that Gustav might actually be right, and it's actually not, you know, he might actually be right what he's saying. It might actually be happening, and it might actually be happening right before her eyes, and there's something she definitely needs to do about it. So she then sees her father, Dean, comes in, says that Luke needs help with Ella, and knows that she went to tax prom with a Republican staffer, and Laurel says that she was doing Luke a favor, and Dean tells her that Gareth was just promoted to Red's chief of staff. He warns that socializing across the aisle could be misunderstood, and Laurel insists on calling Gareth and congratulating him, so he suggests they go out to dinner, and a surprise Gareth agrees as long as they go to Broadbent's wake first. So Luke starts swearing, Laurel and Dean check on him, and Ella is talking about Luke's womanizing, and Luke, and literally basically talks about what Luke is doing with Scarlet. And again, you can tell, to me it seems like when they have these space bugs in them, whenever, you know, since they fart methane, the methane makes them, you know, not hold back. Everything they're thinking comes out of their mouth. They don't have that filter in their head. That's what it seems like to me, at least. Because think about the things that they're saying. I mean, Red's crazy stuff of what he's saying, I really do think in the back of their mind they're thinking these things, but because of the space bugs, they can't really, they have no filter and they can't hide anything. So Luke vows to go after her hard. Laurel tries to leave, but Luke says that he needs her. Luke remembers that Ella told him that she had to put her dog, and he and Dean confirmed that she was going to kill her dog so she wouldn't miss her trip to Paris. And Scarlet comes in. Luke tells her that he has to leak a story. Laurel slams the door in his face, says that Scarlet was conferring with Ella, and Scarlet stands outside the office but looks in through the window and reads their lips. And Luke figures that he can't use Scarlet to leak the story and realizes that Laurel knows someone. You know, he knows that Laurel knows someone that can leak it. He doesn't know who, but Laurel then meets with Stacy of Roll Call at a bar. Stacy turns down a martini and accuses Laurel of making Abby think that she was the problem, and starts talking about Denmark's child care program. Laurel reminds Stacy of when they had boys over at their dorm room in college and tries to get Stacy to remember their time together, because again, there's something off about Abby, and now she's seeing there's something off about Stacy, and obviously we know what happened, that Abby probably infected her, and Stacy recites more data, but Laurel says that a student broke up with her, and she broke into tears. Blood starts leaking out of Stacy's ears. Stacy insists she got her ear pierced and it's infected, and it's kind of a funny scene because Laurel can tell exactly what's going on. Stacy's, you know, saying, oh, my ear was just pierced, but Laurel assures Stacy that she's there for her. Stacy leaves. Once she's alone, Laurel calls Gustav, says she wants to talk, and now she knows what he's saying is true. That's exactly what's going on. Later, Laurel meets with Gustav. Once he secures her phone, she tells him what happened with Stacy. Gustav warns that they're being watched, and Laurel points out the screwworms have been eliminated from the U.S., and she wonders why everyone is listening to the same song, which honestly, yeah, it's a good question. Why is everyone infected listening to You Might Think? What is it about that song? And it leads Gustav to meet with Rochelle at the hospital. Rochelle shows them the CAT scans, and Gustav has her blow them up. He points out a mandible in the brain brain, and basically you can tell that definitely something is going on. Now, what is exactly, we don't know, but definitely the connection between, you might think, and, you know, that is definitely very interesting. So Gareth talks to Red, says they're at 20% approval. He says they need to get the various conservative grassroots group on board and reopen their government to show that they can lead. Red points out that Gareth hasn't accomplished any of the things he came to DC to do, and basically you get the sense that Gareth wanted to do a lot more that he's won, and he hasn't, and says that it's because their colleagues keep arguing for patience, and he figures that everything is set and wants Gareth's help. Gareth finally agrees, and I really like that scene. I like seeing that this, even though, you know, Red's infected, I think he's not wrong when he says, you know, Gareth wanted to do more. Gareth wants to be more involved. He's not doing as much as he wants to do, but then that gets us to probably one of the definite highlights of this episode in this next scene. Basically, they're all at Broadbent's wake, and Gareth is drinking when Laurel comes in. She's on the phone to Luke, saying that she'll find someone else at Roll Call to leak the story. Gareth points out reporter Howard at Roll Call, which is interesting it's called Howard, because, of course, 10 Cloverfield Lane, John Goodman's character was Howard, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead was in that. I just found that kind of interesting. But Laurel goes to talk to Howard, and Red tells Gareth that he changed his mind, and they need the grassroots, and tells Gareth to come in the next day with strategies to reach them. And once Gareth comes back, Laurel comes over, says that arranging the leak was easy. She notes that Gareth looks happier because things seem to be going his way. Things seem to be going right for Gareth for once, and he says that his boss called and now things are better. Laurel says that Dean told her that anyone that they were observed at tax prom, drinking and dancing, Gareth suggests that they give anyone something to talk about, and he offers her hand. Laurel takes it. Gareth suggests that they take it to the next level. After they have another drink each, Laurel half-jokingly kisses him. She does again, chuckling, then does it for real, and it seems like these two are kind of developing a relationship. And yeah, it's early that it's happening, but honestly, it makes sense. Laurel basically, we see, after a moment she gets up to go, Gareth assures her that it was joking. Laurel agrees. Gareth says if she leaves, it will mean something, that she should stay. She has no idea what he means, and leaves. And I love the uncertainty. I love that these two are just, they're kind of together. They don't really know what it is right now. I think it's kind of cute, and I like these two together. I like Gareth and Luke. I like, not Gareth and Luke, I like Gareth and Laurel. I like these two together, and I hope that they do get together, because honestly, I didn't see them possibly getting together. I definitely saw the chemistry in the first episode, but after this, you can kind of see maybe these two are possibly going to get together. Maybe they are going to get together, which is a big thing, because obviously, yes, Laurel's Democrats and Gareth's Republican, but it doesn't seem like that's what this is about. It doesn't seem like they're letting their political beliefs get in the way of possibly creating a genuine relationship, and I actually kind of like that they're doing that, so that's definitely very interesting. Rochelle then calls Gustav, says the chief resident thinks that the mandible is an artifact, and Gustav says that he's going to get proof, hangs up, turns on You Might Think, and sets out a bug trap, because he knows that something about that song, whoever listens to that song, is infected, so something is definitely going on there. He then tapes plastic cups over his ears, which again is really interesting, because now it seems like if you don't hear the song, then you don't get infected. I don't really know. But again, it seems like Gustav, he's a lot more knowledgeable about this whole thing than Laurel ever was, and I like seeing that. So the next day, Laurel and Luke listen to news reports, and I just want to say, I don't know if you guys noticed, but one of the news reporters in this was Megan Hilty, none other than Megan Hilty. Beth Malone's been one of them since the first episode, but Megan Hilty was in fact one of the news reporters, and that was awesome. I love the way they're just getting random Broadway celebrities to just drop in. I think that's really cool. This show feels very Broadway, even though it's not Broadway. I think it's just because of how extreme it is, and I really do like that. But basically, they listen to the news report about Ella euthanizing her dog so she could go to Paris, and Luke congratulates his sister just as Ella comes in. She says that she knew Luke was doing it and is prepared, and tells him to watch the news, and once she leaves, Luke tells Laurel that Ella is bluffing, and meanwhile, Laurel sees Scarlet watching them, and obviously, you know when someone is infected when they're staring directly at you. It's really creepy, but again, it makes sense why they're doing that. So in Red's office, Gareth turns over the news. They're writing a story about Luke and Scarlett's alleged affair, and obviously Germaine is at home watching when Luke comes in, tries to explain, she yells at him to get out, he finally hugs her, she breaks into tears. It's kind of a crazy scene, but again, you know why this is happening, because again, Ella has no filter. Whatever is going on with her doesn't seem like Ella seems to be registering anything, so Gustav dozes off, the bugs are unable to get past the cups, he wakes up, sees the bug trap moving on the floor, tosses it into a plastic bag, as he leaves, the bugs crawl down on the couch and approach Gustav's cat, and you know that something is definitely going to happen to his cat. His cat's probably going to be the one that's infected. Luckily, it's his cat and not Gustav, but that night, Luke is sitting in his office with Laurel. He sees that Germaine is everything to him, and he's made mistakes, and really now he feels like he wants to get back with her. The problem is it's kind of too late now, and he insisted he was working late doing his job and was attracted to Scarlett. Laurel is less than sympathetic. She really doesn't care that, you know, he was with, he was with Scarlet. She really doesn't feel there should be a reason why. He cheated on his wife, and that's how it is. And Luke says that now the female senators are lined up against him. His sister offers to talk to them. The next day, Laurel meets with Ella and the 6 female senators, and basically she's going to try to get them to listen to reason to vote Luke back as, whip and everything. So Gareth lays out his plan for Red to talk to the top grassroots organization, and Red says they're going to build their own grassroots from the ground up, and there's only one way to get what they want, their way. They'll call it the One Wayers, and Red tells Gareth to get on it. And again, it's a crazy situation the way that Red is, but Gustav takes the bug trap to Rochelle, tells her to be careful. She tells Gustav to sit down, and he does, and then they offer each other their condolences on the death of their father and his friend. It's kind of a nice scene because really they have a lot in common. They both don't really understand this bug situation. They both were kind of just thrown into it, and they're both learning so much information. And the bug, we find out, is dead, and Rochelle says that it's a cockroach, and Gustav realizes that the screwworms are still in his apartment and heads back, because obviously they're going after his cat, so it really sucks. Even though he's trying to get close to Rochelle, the screwworms are there, and obviously, it's great that he's trying to get close to her, but the screwworms are right there, so he needs to get back there. So Laurel then finishes meeting with the senators. She then calls Luke, says that it went well. As she passes 2 men sharing a candy bar, Blades approaches her, asks her to come with him. Blades takes her phone. He and his fellow agents escort her to a waiting car, and that puts us into the end of the episode, which is really interesting. So basically, the agent takes Laurel to this interrogation room, and an agent leaves an empty folder on the table. Blades comes in, asks what Laurel knows about CHIs, which is catastrophic head injuries, which I think is the first time we've heard about this. And Laurel obviously has no idea what he's talking about. She's never heard this before. We've never heard of this either, and I like that we're on the same level as Laurel. This is not something where we're like, oh, we know what's going on. She doesn't. We don't know what's going on either. And Blades points out that she's experienced 2 of them. He asks what she knows and why she called Anthony and why he left her office when they told her about Broadbent dying. And Blades then says that she was seen talking to Gustav. Anthony comes in. Blades repeats his question, and once they're done, Blades and Anthony leave. Blades figures that they should keep Laurel overnight. That must be the best thing to do because he feels that she knows information and that she is infected or something's going on with her and she's had these head injuries. Now, what I'm thinking is that that's what they think is going on, that all these people are having CHIs, that's what this all is. It has nothing to do with the bugs. And again, it makes sense because they're government agents and, it's just a logical reason, but Laurel knows that's not at all what's going on, and really, it's ridiculous what they think. And basically, Luke arrives, demands that they release Laurel. Blade says that Laurel's a witness. They got a call from a terrorist group taking credit for the CHIs, and he refuses to let Laurel go. Luke threatens him until Blade relents, and once he gets Laurel released, they head back to the office. I love that he was just able to get Laurel away from there. It was really funny. Basically, they head back to the office. Anthony calls Laurel. She ignores him. Luke says that Anthony's the one who called and told him that she was being questioned, and he then says that Ella backed down and thanks Laurel for her help, and basically talk about how at least no one was killed today or nothing bad happened. But then we see at the end of the episode, Gustav is searching his apartment with a sound amplifier. His cat meows at him. Gustav realizes that it's staring at him. It's too late. Gustav's cat is now infected. The space bugs are in him. The methane has gone into him. Basically, the bugs are now inside of him, and now, I'm not going to call them the space bugs anymore because now we have an official name for them, and that name, I can't remember what the name is called now, but the screwworms, the screwworms have gotten inside of his cat, and basically his cat's staring at him. That is the way the episode ends. Really good stuff overall. Let's get into this episode. Like I said, for me, this was the best episode we've had so far. I thought it was a lot of fun. I definitely really enjoyed it. There's a lot of good stuff going on here, though, especially with this whole government situation. They think that this is just something called CHIs. Now, how is that connected to what's going on? Because we haven't heard about this before, and I don't think they're wrong that that definitely is going on. But how is that connected to the screwworms? Because it's clear that Gustav knows a lot more about this than Laurel does, and I kind of like that Gustav is ahead of Laurel, because you'd think Laurel would know what's going on, but she's so wrapped up in all this political stuff, and Gustav is not, that he knows all the answers and she doesn't. I like that she doesn't know all the answers to what's going on, and he is sort of figuring it out on his own. I like the way that that's going. Gustav's cat, though, is now infected, so apparently can happen to animals. We now know that that can happen too, which I didn't think is something we knew before. It can happen to animals, though, which is interesting. But what is this terrorist group that they're talking about? I don't think we've heard about this before. This terrorist group that's taking credit. I hope we find out more about that, because that's overall really interesting. I haven't heard about this terrorist group before. I think that's all really interesting, what's going on there. Laurel and Gareth. Yes, they are on opposing sides. Yes, it seems that they shouldn't be together, but it seems like these two are kind of developing a relationship right before their eyes. Whether they like it or not, they like each other, and there's nothing they can really do about it. It seems these two are going to get together. That's going to be interesting to see how that all goes down, if these two actually do end up in a relationship. I think it's going to be kind of cute if they do. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there, because that's going to be interesting. I like the bonding between Gustav and Rochelle, the way that these two are kind of bonding over what's going on with them. I really am enjoying that. As far as Luke goes, it's too late now. I mean, even though, you know, even though, he said to, even though he's realizing that, he had this affair with Scarlett, he's now realizing that he does love Germaine. It's too late. The footage has already been there, Ella's already exposed him, and now Luke, I don't think, has a good of a chance of being Whip. I don't really know if that's going to work out for him. We'll have to see how that goes. I think that's going to be very interesting. Ella's now infected. Red's idea with Gareth, yes, it's ridiculous. His idea is obviously ridiculous, what's going on there, but it makes sense. Why he has such a ridiculous idea, what's going to happen with that, the idea of the one-wayers, but I feel like he's actually going to do it, because it seems like Gareth, he's going to try to, help out Red a lot more. He wants to do a lot more, and I definitely am looking forward to seeing how that goes. That's going to be really interesting, definitely. But overall, guys, I really did enjoy this episode. A lot of really good stuff going on here, a lot of really fun stuff. This was a fun episode, but it was also really a lot of good, a lot of information given to us in this episode. There was some good political stuff here. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I really did enjoy it overall. I'm really enjoying the show. Every episode, it seems like the show just keeps getting better, and that's something I really do like, is that the show definitely, they're realizing what works and what doesn't. But I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for either a movie review or for the movie preview of July. I don't know which one is going to come first, but the movie preview of July definitely happening today. So you're going to be for movie review or for movie preview of July or for Bloodline. I don't know which one, but one of those videos is going to come out today, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.